right, Senator, 29 years ago, when Ronald Reagan nominated Anthony Kennedy, we have C-SPAN video of you saying, basically, even though it was the last year of Reagan's presidency, we couldn't wait for that Supreme Court nomination. So what's changed?
Yeah, it's pretty simple. That is entirely different than the one we're facing right now, because a vacancy comes this year, and that vacancy occurred in July and started out with Bork. And then, by the way, let me use this as an example, that there are times when I have been asked my advice as well as consent on a nominee. And when Bork went down, then there was another person put up, and at that time I was called down to the White House to see what did I think of that person, who was also on the circuit, DC Circuit Court of Appeals. So he had to withdraw, the second one does, so we had a third one. And then it was decided that he was going to be appointed, and the vote came up in January. So it's an entirely different situation.
Senator, I think some people want to know, is there a date where this goes into effect? So is it January 1st of an election year? Where's the cutoff? As you mentioned,
Well,
with some of these, they've happened toward the latter end, like in the case you just mentioned, of a year previously, and then it carried over. In this case, this is the same year. So where's the cutoff?
yeah. Well, I think the best answer to your question is what Schumer said, 20 minutes, or 20 months. No, it was really 18 months. A gentleman over here said it was 20 months, but I think it was 18 months that in the last 18 months of the Bush administration, that the Democrats were going to make sure that he didn't appoint anybody to the Supreme Court. So in recent times, this has become more of an issue because of the ideological split that Schumer said that there should be a balance. And so if you accept his principle of a balance, then you're talking about the same thing here today.
What do you say to those who say you're sidestepping the Constitution?
We aren't sidestepping the Constitution because the Constitution is very clear. The President appoints with the advice and consent of the Senate. Now, I don't know whether you'll seek our advice like President Reagan did on a couple occasions or not, but at least he has to have our consent. So he does his constitutional duty of appointing, and then we have to decide to consent or not consent. But whether we consent or don't consent, we're still following the Constitution.
The Republican Party prepared to take a hit in politics by refusing to take up a nominee, not necessarily whether or not to approve, but even to take up?
You'd have to prove to me that we'd be taking a hit at this point.
Senator, you, right after...
Are you with the press?
Yeah, I'm with the Gazette newspaper.
Go ahead, sir. I'm sorry I asked. I should have known by looking at you before I asked the question.
No problem. Right after Justice Scalia passed away, you had said we should wait, and now today you're saying take it one step at a time, and that you wouldn't necessarily block a nomination. Just kind of curious what you're thinking, you know, kind of your change in thinking.
I think you've got to be understanding of when I come in from shoveling snow Saturday, Jason Noble called me, and he says, do you know that Scalia died? I didn't know that Scalia had died. And he asked me two questions. One, what you should do, what should happen, and the second one was what I thought of Scalia. So I told him what I thought of Scalia, and I said it's too early to make a decision because I use the term too many balls in the air. And then after I had a chance to think about what the situation was, and so that's why the statement came out, and we called Jason Noble up and told him that we thought that the question coming at that time and his informing me of it, which he was very intellectually honest and printed in the paper, that he was informing me of it. So I think it's understanding that I was asked a question that I didn't have time to give any thought to. And then after I gave thought to it, then that's why I put out the statement I put out.
So why not say, since you're saying you don't think the president should do this in this election year, why not say then as chair of the committee, sort of full here, that we're not gonna hold these hearings? It sounds like you're saying take it one at a time and we'll see who the nominee is. Why not just make a blanket statement there?
I think I'm pretty clear that this should carry over to the next election. But on the other hand, I think that take it a step at a time, maybe the president will agree with us eventually if he gets a chance to talk to us. I'll give you my judgment of why I think that he should wait.
I guess my point though is that, but if he doesn't wait and he puts a name out there, you're not at this point ready to say, it doesn't matter who the name is, we're not gonna take you up. So why are you holding back there?
I'm not holding back, I'm taking a step at a time.